So my company, Alvaro Steel, has we are originated in Michigan, and we've just kind of slowly expanded into the Midwest, a little bit into the South. We're in roughly like 15 states now, and we just keep getting bigger. The more we do expand, the more places we go, the further we can reach, and then once we start reaching more places, we're even more likely to expand, right? So I currently kind of oversee the Illinois kind of operations here, and I'm in charge of kind of just determining demand and forecast and figuring out which areas are looking to be big for us in the coming years. And we currently have no locations in Minnesota, and we've been noticing a lot of demand for it. And we got locations in Wisconsin and Illinois, like I said, but it's just hard for our trucks to get to Minnesota with all the demand, right? It just costs a lot of money to have our trucks drive hours out there when we can make it a lot easier and just set up shop right in the Twin Cities. So my project is finding the warehouse space, um, getting the material down there, figuring how much money it's all going to cost, finding the labor, and finding the people to do so, because it's not easy, especially with our type of business where we almost need like millions of dollars worth of equipment in these warehouses for processing all these different metals, and we also need a bunch of different truck drivers. And yeah, if it's a big warehouse, it's definitely a big implementation. So that's why we don't love to, because of the high upfront cost of adding another location. We don't really dive in head first. We make sure we have the demand. We make sure it's been there for years consistently, and it keeps growing in the Minnesota metro area. So I will talk you through my steps to make this happen and to be effective at doing it. So for this expansion, we're only going to need to add one warehouse. That's what we usually do when we expand, and also one warehouse for us is just covers so much, and we can hold so much. And like the warehouse I location at Bolingbrook, Illinois, was 382,000 square feet, and had like about 100 total workers in the warehouse, and that covered. That's our that's our bit. We have two other smaller locations in Illinois that are more for like niche products like plastics. So just one big one. We think we would scale it to around 350,000 square feet, which is definitely like relatively big for Alvaro Steel warehouses, as Bolingbrook is our top three biggest Alvaro Steel warehouses. So this one would be big too, just because we're confident in the demand around it, and we really think it's, in order for this to be worth it, it needs to be big in order for us to house everything that we need in there. We want to locate this somewhere in the metro area. You don't want it like obviously downtown because it's just too expensive for the land then, but somewhere in the metro area, wherever we think we're wherever most of our customers are kind of densely populated would be nice too, because usually with machine shops, like these smaller machine shops, there's like a bunch of them together in certain areas. They're not like all kind of scattered randomly, which is nice for our sake. But if we can kind of maybe strategically place it around there, but yeah, just somewhere in the metro area, but where it's not super expensive. But also what we have to worry about is the roads where our warehouses are going to be by, because some states have restrictions on how heavy of trucks you can have flowing in and out on the same road over and over again. So we would either need to get the city's approval, because Minnesota is one of these where they're kind of particular or meticulous about what trucks are coming on and what roads and how often. So we would either have to we might have to rebuild some roads ourselves in certain areas. So we would need to make sure that we are not going someplace and be like, oh crap, now we have to pay for all these roads. So that's just something that we'll definitely have to factor into. The general role for each warehouse is just processing and distributing metal in that area. Relatively self-explanatory. But in this warehouse too, you also have the office workers, the inside sales workers, the outside sales reps coming in and out, right? Because I mean, they're outside sales. So you have an inside sales manager, or we'll have the general manager of a location who's managing the warehouse operations, but as well as the office stuff. You might have the regional manager popping in and out, or maybe staying there more. Um, you're gonna have the warehouse safety supervisors. So that's each role. Each warehouse kind generally has the same role for here at Alro. Just it can vary a little bit by management and location, but it's not like some warehouses are doing something entirely different. So the layout that I'm familiar with at my Alro Steel location that I interned at wasn't an L-shaped layout or an I, because or U, as a U-shaped layout would indicate that receiving and shipping come in and out from the same exit. But we only really have a receiving area, and then we have a bunch of docks where all the different shuttle trucks, we call them, depart from, right? So, and the docks are determined just by area and what truck covers which ground. And I think the reason we have to invest in so many docks is just because we are a less than truckload carrier. So our business model is not putting a bunch of items in one truck. We just can't do that, because one thing that like a main part of our business model and something we pride ourselves in is next day delivery or a really fast delivery. So sometimes there's just 12 items on a truck, and they're each for a different customer, but they got to go out and get there for that day for the customer. So that is why we have to have so many different trucks, and that is why we have all these docks. And every facility that I've been at kind of utilizes this model. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We'd probably keep running with this type of warehouse layout where there's a receiving area, our receiving comes to it, big entrance, and then just a bunch of little docks all around the building where the trucks come in and out of. A receiving process that is very prominent at multiple Alro Steel locations across the board is cross-docking. So the trucks from the mills come through the receiving area, come inside the warehouse. We unload it all, and because this material can obviously be very heavy, we can't move it too far to its storage aisles and corridors. Just right then and there, we'll pick it up and just move it to its first storage zone, where it's just kind of right in the receiving area. We'll separate the bars from the plates, from the other types of shapes and sizes. And once we have everything together and the truck is left, once we have it fully unloaded, then we can go through and scan each barcode of the materials and then take it to its designated rightful spot. But we can't do it right away, given the circumstances, and just that would be too difficult logistically speaking. So we would implement the same sort of strategy for us. Because we are investing in a new facility, we might as well invest in a modern warehouse management system too. Might as well just get ahead of it. Don't want to get outdated right away. So I would like the warehouse management system to be able to track inventory measurements on the fly for any given department, what's coming in, what's coming out. If we are looking to lose a lot of certain product in the next few hours, gain a lot of it, figure out how each department is performing, if they're hitting their numbers, if they're not, and just kind of giving us these calculations right away in real time versus us having to manually figure that out days later even. So just to get an active real time indicator of all our different units and processes going on would be something that would be very helpful for my warehouse. The material we'll have in the warehouse will be different types of forklifts, standard forklifts, reach trucks to reach towards higher areas of storage. We'll also need just the many different types of machines that you need for cutting and processing different metals. Because there's a ton of different types of way to cut metals, like saws, lasers, even water. So we have to figure out which ones we're going to invest in and how many. And there's many different types of ways to process metal as well. And it depends on the type of metal for all that too. One thing we'll also utilize to maximize storage and space is double deep racking. So this is just essentially putting two pallets deep of material into one pallet. So it's just more dense and just makes things a little more tight and just all together. So it can be harder to kind of keep track of and get a little more complicated, but we think we can do it with an advanced warehouse management system and just with good management in place. And that is why we also need those specialized forklifts. And just because we're gonna have a ton of metal in there. That's a big part of our business model. We keep a massive inventory at any Auro Steel location, and this is so we can get anything, even if it's super niche or random, or like a D item, to any customer the next day, or at least that's our hope. And we also just like keeping a deep inventory in general, just to make sure we never run out of anything. And it's kind of seemed to separate us from our competitors that way. And also for these trucks, that'll be we'll have modern technology in these forklifts, not trucks, sorry, forklifts. So each aisle row, the trucks will fit exactly in between them, and they'll be magnetized to each aisle. So when someone drives it in it, they won't even have to steer. Each side of the forklift will just be being pulled to the aisle and will perfectly glide along. So you don't have to worry about any accident or anything there, and it perfectly maximizes spaces. It doesn't need any more space than the forklift needs, and that's all that needs to get in there too to pick up and move material. For our resource plan, we will need to have the capacity to work every single hour of every single day of the week, besides holidays. I'm at our warehouses. We work overnight. We work on Saturdays. We work on Sundays. We got a lot to get done, and we need to do this in order to catch up on the work we're trying to put in and get through. So we're going to need supervisors, saw cutters, pickers, shear cutters, and more niche departments working really at all times for stuff like laser cutting and like metal bar processing. You don't need as many at a time. Maybe on a Saturday night you don't need any, but we always need receivers. We always need pickers. Always need at least a few supervisors. And we'll probably have about 80 people in the warehouse at any given time working, allocated properly. We need people inside, like 5 inside sales representatives, a manager, a few outside sales reps, like I talked about earlier. We're gonna need a ton of different pallet jacks, like 10 forklifts, 10 reach trucks, and this is all gonna cost us a lot of different money. And the storage equipment, the pallet racking system, the shelving units for small items, the pallet wrap. There's so many little things that we need, and it'll cost us a lot of money, but we have a very thorough plan, as we kind of were able to ask advice for the other branches that recently expanded and were formed, kind of how they allocated their expenses and kind of what, if they could do it again, what they wish they would do right from a resource standpoint. So a good example of what a key performance metric would look like. for our business. There's a lot because our warehouse is pretty broad and covers a lot. But let's say example just for bar cutting, just how many footage a bar one person on a machine is cutting per hour. And we can track this with our advanced analytics and warehouse management system, as well as just supervisors. And but you'll kind of know just based on how many are getting packaged up. But some of this could be on the machine being faulty. But either way, it's important to know. Also, a good key performance metric is how many late arrivals how many like late shipments there are, right? So if we say a delivery is going to get there next day and it doesn't, that means it's late. So this is a huge metric for us because it covers pretty much everything, and it's not focused on one person, but just on, it's very general, just kind of how the warehouse and business is performing, if it's performing up to its standards as a whole, which is why it's so good though. Something similar to that, another big key performance metric is if the material we send is faulty or not good enough to the buyer's standards. Sometimes metal products have to be very precise. Can't have any scratches anywhere in order for it to work for certain applications. So we have to keep that in mind. And we can also kind of use that data to figure out if some people are making mistakes more than others. And just for any person, any department, really, we can kind of figure out if department's like slacking some days, just behind on orders. We can kind of look and see if that's because of a certain person or just because of the area as a whole. And if it's because of the area as a whole, then we need to work on who's overseeing the management. We take safety very seriously at Our Steel, so some processes we'll implement for the health and safety of the warehouse. We'll just include different sit-ins and meetings where we bring in different professionals who talk about the importance of safety and who actually went through big incidents in their lives. I remember when I was there at Our, so I had to watch videos where someone came into Our, so it was recorded at a presentation, and they would talk about how they like seriously messed up their life and was in hospital for years just because they thought that, just quick move this. I've done it a million times, but you just don't fully focus on it once and can fall on you and mess up your life. So usually these presentations are pretty deep and hit home for a lot of people and kind of tells people. But also, we need cameras, and we need management that's constantly preaching safety. And if they see someone's not doing it right, you gotta, or not following the proper safety procedures, they gotta be pulled into the office or talked to, and it's got to be taken seriously. I mean, not just the company. I mean, not just for safety reasons, for brand reputation, for money purposes. Safety goes a long way, and if someone gets hurt bad, I mean, that they're out of work for weeks, months. I mean, that it hurts productivity. So there's a lot that goes into it, but first things foremost, you just don't want anyone getting hurt just for their well-being. But safety and having someone kind of often watching the cameras, and if you see something, say something. So yeah. Emergency technologies for us, I think if someone's hurt, we'll know it. There's never just like one person in the warehouse. There's never just one person doing something random. I don't think it's because we're already so big on it and we already have cameras involved. I don't think it's worth investing in some of these really expensive emergency technologies where I only think would be even useful once in a blue moon. And I think if someone gets hurt, everyone would be alerted. I don't think it would really shave off that much time. I mean, I think if we were getting injured all the time, I think it could help, but we only have major injuries once every few years, so I don't think it's worth it for that one time. Another important thing that we're really gonna have to make sure we have is just a solid supply chain management infrastructure in place. it's critical for Alro Steel, because the way we ship our product is complex and a little bit different, with so few products going out at a time on each truck. So we need a supply chain professional who would manage the whole warehouse on his own and designate different areas for different trucks to go to so he could try and maximize speed and efficiency. And these trucks, they all kind of usually leave at around a similar time, but there's many different routes. There's routes that only take 4 hours, routes that can take up to 10 hours. But we want our truck drivers to be good people, like, because they're the first, they're salesmen in a way. When they drop off the product, it's they gotta hop out, help. It can be a physically demanding role. I've talked to truck drivers before. They've gotten hurt trying to lift something too heavy, trying to do too much. But it's important that they're helpful and trying to increase their reputation as much as possible. So with all that being said, as long as we execute, we should be successful. We already have the infrastructure and the demand in place for us in the Twin Cities. It'll just come down to how about we optimize our layout. If we put all the different departments in ways where it flows around the warehouse, not one thing over here on the one way side of the warehouse that needs to be in connected and in communication with one that's way over there. So just looking into that, we need to make sure our workers are trained and working hard. We have good management. But yeah, it's all there for us. It should be good, and I'm excited to take on this opportunity. So I appreciate you listening to me.